All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to step inside a very different kind of mind. This is a story we've pieced together from the source material, told from the first person perspective of a global syndicate's chief accountant. Now, this is a guy who saw the world not through right and wrong, but purely through profit and loss.
And this right here, this is his core belief. It's like the operating system for his entire life. You have to forget everything you know about good and evil. For this guy, every single action, every life, and every death is just a number, a figure to be calculated on a balance sheet. It's a pretty chilling way to see the world for sure, but you gotta understand it to get what comes next. This ledger he's about to write in blood. So section 1, a ledger written in blood. You have to ask, right? How does anyone end up with such a cold, calculating philosophy? Well, the story of this ledger, what he calls his original sin, it starts where a lot of these stories do, back in his childhood. And it wasn't born from some inherent evil or malice. Nope. It came from a tragedy that taught him the brutal, brutal math of life when he was just a kid. And look at this. The brutal simplicity of it it says everything, doesn't it? His father dies on a construction site, just another nameless worker for some powerful developer. And his life, all his years of work, everything he was, his entire future was valued at exactly $1,000. That's it. And it wasn't even a settlement. It was a receipt. Just a piece of paper that proved he existed, and that in the end, he didn't matter at all. That's the moment the switch just flips. He doesn't see himself as choosing to become a criminal, not at all. He sees it as a kind of cosmic correction. The world handed him this unbalanced equation, and he decided the only way to fix that injustice was to use the very same ruthless math that was used against his own family. Moving on to section 2, the price of admission. Okay, so with this new worldview, how does he actually get his foot in the door? Well, his weapon wasn't a gun, it wasn't a knife, it was his mind. That incredible talent for numbers, that's the key that unlocked a door to a world where that kind of cold calculating skill was valued above literally everything else. And this quote, wow, it just perfectly captures that moment of decision. Here he is, graduating at the top of his class, just full of potential. But as we all know, potential doesn't pay the bills. So when a man in a perfectly tailored suit makes him an offer, all those obvious dangers, all those red flags, they suddenly start to look like green lights. Desperation basically makes the choice for him. So he wasn't hired to be just a bookkeeper. No way. He was given a fancy new role in what they called the Department of Financial Architecture. His new title? Identity Engineer. And his job? Basically was to be a ghost in the machine, making dirty money vanish and then reappear totally clean on the other side of the planet. So, how'd he pull it off? He built what he called a washing machine. Now, it looks simple enough on the screen, but the execution was, it was genius. Step 1, take the dirty money. Step 2, funnel it through this insane, dizzying web of shell companies in a dozen different countries. Each transaction just adds another layer, making it impossible to trace. And then step 3, the money pops out the other side, looking completely legitimate, ready to be invested or spent. All right, section 3, the architecture of fear. As he started to climb the ladder, it wasn't through the usual means. He never had to raise his voice. He never had to pull a trigger. He gained his power by designing something much, much more terrifying. A perfectly efficient, completely dehumanizing system of control. This was his big aha moment. See, we all think of organized crime as just chaos and violence, right? But he understood the total opposite is true. The syndicate's real power comes from its rigid, unbending, totally predictable structure. It's a machine, and every single part, every single person has to operate exactly as it's designed. No exceptions. And here's the part that's kind of hard to wrap your head around at first. Violence is messy. It draws attention. It creates huge operational risks. For an accountant, it's just bad for business. So he designed this tiered collection strategy where actually hurting someone was the absolute last and least desirable option on the table. This is the real evil genius of his system. He didn't need to send guys to break legs. He built a cage of fear so precise, so perfect, that the debtors would dismantle their own lives for him. They'd sell their assets, they'd betray their friends, they'd tear their whole world apart just to pay what they owed, all without him ever laying a finger on them. It's architecture, not aggression. To run a system like this, you have to become the system yourself. So he adopted a new set of rules to live by. Every conversation, it's a transaction. Every friendship, it's a portfolio to be managed for risk and return. Every human connection was just another entry on his ledger. And he told himself that any blood that was spilled, well, it was just laundered and washed away by the clean logic of mathematics. But here's the thing about a system this perfect. It has one fatal flaw. Eventually, its cold, impartial logic will turn on its own creators. The machine he built to audit everyone else was about to run one final, devastating audit on him. And that's the chilling realization. He always thought he was a player, a master of the game. But he was never really in control. He was just another asset on the balance sheet. And when the math changed, the very system he designed came to collect its due. His one lifeline, his so-called insurance policy, was a set of encrypted hard drives holding every dirty secret of the entire organization. But it was compromised from the inside. The one person he trusted more than anyone was actually a cartel plant, a deep cover agent who'd been running a 2-year intelligence operation right under his nose. And just like that, he's trapped. On one side, you've got the DEA closing in. On the other side, the cartel, and they now see him as a massive loose end. He's caught right in the middle, and it finally hits him. He was never the player. He was just the ammunition about to be fired in a war between two giants. So, Section 5, the final exchange rate. This is it, the end of the line. And he survives. You could say he wins, in a sense. He's rich, he's powerful, and he is completely, utterly alone, forced to finally tally the true, devastating human cost of his life's work. I mean, what good is all the money in the world if you're trapped? He did everything he set out to do. He balanced that ledger from his childhood. And what did he find at the end of it all? That being the richest man in a cage, it's no different from being the tallest person in a hole. The victory is completely meaningless. And this is the final number on his balance sheet. 11. The number of empty seats at his table. The number of brothers, of friends he swore he was doing all this for, whose lives were the final exchange rate for his empire. This is the final, heartbreaking calculation. He gave his brothers an empire, territory, money, power, everything he thought they wanted. But as this final ledger shows, what they actually wanted were the simple things he could never give them. Just a meal around the kitchen table, a safe bed to sleep in. He was solving the wrong equation the entire time. So in the end, his entire kingdom is just built on the ghosts of his friends. Every dollar is a receipt for a life that's gone. And his ultimate reward for a lifetime of perfect calculations is an eternity of solitude, because he's the only one left who remembers any of it. And that's where his story leaves us. It forces us all the way back to that first brutal question from his childhood. After all the complex systems, all the betrayals, the empires built and lost, what's the final price? When all the math is finally done, what is a human life actually worth?